Okay. I need a minister here. Honourable members, we now move to the appropriation 2011-2012 estimates bill. I need a minister. Honourable members, the standing orders provide for 8 hours of debate on the estimates. Each member may have no more than 2 speeches of 5 minutes on each vote. The estimates debate should be relevant to the government's current spending plans as contained in the estimates of appropriations. As each vote is reached, a question will be put that the vote stand part. Should it be the wish of the committee, a question may be proposed on 2 or more related votes for the purpose of debating them together. At the conclusion of the 8 hours of debate, any remaining votes and the remaining provisions of the bill will be put as one question. The government indicates which votes are available for debate. I understand all votes are available and will be called in order of seniority of ministers, commencing with the Speaker's votes. A compendium of the reports of select committees on the votes is available on the table. The question is that vote audit stand part of the schedule. I call the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to open this section of the debate in the committee stage of the Appropriations 2011-12 Estimates Bill. Mr Speaker, it is very important at this juncture that this House and our country understands the crossroads presented to us by the estimates that are in this debate.
Sorry to interrupt the member. There may be a misunderstanding. The question is that the vote audit. So it's audit. Is the member speaking to the audit?
5 minutes.
No, okay. Okay. The question now is that those of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that the vote officer of the clerk stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote ombudsman stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will please say aye. Those of the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote parliamentary commissioner for the environment stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote parliamentary service stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will please say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote communications security and intelligence stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will please say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote ministerial services stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will please say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote Prime Minister and Cabinet stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion please say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote security intelligence stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will please say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote tourism stand part of the schedule. I call the Honourable Member Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Thank you very much for that kind invitation to speak. I wanted to take a call on tourism because I think that it's been one of the developments of this government that the Prime Minister has chosen to take on the portfolio of tourism. There were a lot of other options he could have had. He could have chosen science and technology or whatever, but he chose tourism. And of course one of the reasons he chose tourism is that it's such an important export industry for our country. In fact, over the last decade it was our biggest export earner, even ahead of dairy, even though year on year now dairy has got ahead of tourism. And the reason why tourism is such a big export earner, of course, is built on our Clean Green brand. The brand, of course, has been 100% pure. The latest version is 100% pure U, and that's built on the fact that New Zealand has a fantastic natural environment. In fact, if you look at the advertisements that are running currently, whether they're online or elsewhere, they show amazing pictures of New Zealand's natural environment. In particular, they show amazing pictures of New Zealand rivers. Now, the truth is that this government has not been looking after our rivers. Our rivers deteriorated very significantly under the course of the last government due to dairy intensification, completely out of control dairy intensification. But this new government, when it came in, it made a commitment to do something about it. But unfortunately, it hasn't done anything about it. In fact, the Board of Inquiry that was set up by the previous government to consider the National Policy Statement on Freshwater Management came back with a very strong proposal that would have begun the process of cleaning up our rivers. And this current government decided to water that proposal down, and the National Policy Statement on Freshwater Management that this government finally adopted had its teeth pulled out of it so that it couldn't begin to clean up our rivers and lakes. Now, this is a major problem. Now, at the time, the Green Party made this argument very strongly, and since then, just recently, the Cawthron Institute, which is a very reputable independent institute, of which the Minister for the Environment is apparently a director of the Cawthron Institute, the Cawthron Institute came out with a report which said that that very same Minister for the Environment's National Policy Statement would not clean up our rivers in the foreseeable future. It said that the National Policy Statement, as it had been weakened by the Minister for the Environment and this government, would not clean up our rivers and would not protect the foundation of our tourism industry, which is our clean green reputation, which is built on the clean green reality. Unfortunately, the majority of our lowland rivers are now polluted. Depending on which report you read, some reports say that it's in the order of 90% of our lowland pastoral streams are polluted. Some of the reports from Ministry for the Environment suggest about half of our rivers that are monitored at various times are unsafe for swimming because of the amount of faeces in them. And so this has created a fundamental challenge to one of our most important export industries. And it's a challenge that the Minister of Tourism, the Prime Minister, should have taken on and championed. Instead, the Prime Minister has stood back while our rivers have got worse. Well, the only tool, one of the best tools we have, the National Policy Statement on Freshwater Management, got watered down. And in fact, this Prime Minister, the Minister of Tourism, has actively been promoting $400 million of new subsidies to the irrigation industry in order to lead to hundreds of thousands of new hectares of intensive dairy. Now, if you read every science report about this issue, they are all absolutely clear that it is intensive agriculture, and particularly dairy, that has led to the degradation of our river systems. And yet this is a Minister of Tourism that is not acting to protect these rivers that are the foundation of the tourism industry in our country, one of our most important export sectors. So while we've had what I thought would be hopeful for tourism, that the Prime Minister took on the portfolio, in practice the Prime Minister, the Minister of Tourism, has not done his job to protect the industry, which is fundamentally reliant on the natural environment. In fact, we've had a Minister of Tourism who is actively promoting the destruction of our natural environment by a dramatic expansion in the very industry that every scientific report is telling us is leading to a degradation in our rivers. Now, there'll be those that say, oh, you can mitigate the effects. Actually, you cannot mitigate another million cows, the effect of another million cows on New Zealand, because if you read the science, which has to be the foundation of how we make decisions about this, the science is very clear that another million cows and intensive agriculture in our country will lead to further degradation of our river systems. It was very disappointing for me to read the Minister's statement around science and the fact that the Minister of Tourism has not taken that on board in doing his duty in this area.
Order. The question now is that vote tourism stand par. Many of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Those the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote's been called for. The clerk will please conduct the party vote. Thank you.
New Zealand National.
57 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes opposed.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
Act New Zealand.
4 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
Toko whai, tau toko ana.
Progressive.
1 vote opposed.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Mana. Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Any other votes?
Honourable members, the ayes are 66, the noes are 53. The motion is agreed to. The question now is that vote finance stand part of the schedule. I call the Honourable David Cunliffe.